Welcome back to Chariot Palmistry, everyone. Today, I'm joined with Simon, a very well-renowned Vedic astrologer all the way from America. He's got some really good predictions on Bitcoin and gold and silver, and he's got a very good accuracy rate here as well. So Simon, say hello.
Hey, nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for...
I'm not actually in Puri. You could see this is one of those fake backgrounds, but this is the city Puri in Orissa. This is the Jagannath temple behind me. But I'm actually in Hawaii right now.
Oh, cool. Do you go to India often?
Yes, when there is not COVID, I try to go there every 2-3 years. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wonderful. Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Jyotish and what your background is with this?
Well, yeah, as we were talking about just before this, I was born in a normal family. Nobody talked about astrology. It was just something that was in me. And as I mentioned to you, if you have good karma, you're born in a family that does that thing. So, you know, you study enough ballet in this lifetime. In your next lifetime, you're born in a ballet family, and they start you out from 2 years old. And, you know, you become a prima ballerina. Same thing with Sanskrit, same thing with Jyotisha. My karma wasn't that great, so because I must have been a bit of a rascal in a past life. So I was born in, you know, Eastern European kind of family, and, you know, meat eater, everything. All of it is just standard. So, but I've always had this love, this burning desire to know more about my fate, to kind of peek behind the curtain of creation and sort of look over God's shoulder to see, hey, what's the plan? What's going on? So that's always fascinated me. And to this day, it gets me up in the morning, and I'm passionate about it.
Oh, good. How old were you when you started your Jyotish journey?
I think like 7 or 8 or 9. Yeah, just learning about, trying to learn my chart, you know, seeing what other astrologers had to say, thinking there has to be something good here, you know. And to this day, we still haven't found anything, but I'm still looking.
Yep. I think the answer is once you find it, then you're no longer alive, right? You enter nirvana.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you've got a lot of predictions on Bitcoin and the cryptos. Could you run us through that from an astrological perspective?
Well, caveat here. So one thing to know, and this is going to be a little controversial for some people to hear, but one thing that has been confirmed to me over and over in this lifetime is that when the astrologer is running a good period, their predictions come true. When the astrologer hits a difficult period, for whatever reason, out of their control or within their control, their predictions go off. So first part of 2020, I was pretty dead on about the movements of Bitcoin, when it would go down, when it would go up. And starting September, I thought Bitcoin would go up in September. It went the opposite direction. And so that first kind of gave me a little wake-up call, because, you know, we all like to be right. It feels good. It feeds our ego, but it also feels like we're doing the good work. So that hurt. That was the first time I really, you know, messed it up. And then since then, so then I look back at my chart, and I noticed that August 28th, I began a very difficult period. It's a 3-month period, August, 4-month period, that will last till the end of January. So your listeners right now should be warned. Don't pay any heed to anything I say until January 28th, okay? Having said that, I will tell you what my predictions are, because these predictions I made, I think, before then. My overall prediction for Bitcoin is in 2021 that it will hit between 60 to 70,000 of value, and it may spike up all the way to 100 during the year, but come down. But I think 60 to 70, that's the target, and I'm still sticking with it. Earlier in the year, I mentioned that we would hit new all-time highs. We're getting close to it now. Honestly, I didn't anticipate us getting this high this fast, and I do think there will be a retracement. We're in November now, mid-November. I think starting in later November, first week of December, and so forth, I think we will see one final dip. At least I'm hoping to, because I actually, full disclosure, I divested some of my own Bitcoin anticipating this dip, and now it looks like a really bad decision. I mean, I held on through bear markets, through all kinds of terrible times, and here I go, the first chance I get rid of it. What a dummy. Don't listen to dummies. By the way, the sound B, B-I, is in my 8th house. Okay. So B is a very difficult sound for me. Other sounds are better. So anyway, not excuses. These are geotishical insights into why certain coins may be good for certain people, certain coins may not be. Even, for example, when we do compatibility, like when you look at Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, Angelina is Brad Pitt's 6th house, and Brad is Angelina's 6th house. So just by virtue of saying, hey, Brad, you're invoking the 6th house of conflict and loss of relationship. By him saying, hey, Angie, just the sound invokes the 6th house. So these sounds have a significance in relationship, also in what type of coins, what type of stocks would do well for you. If your part of fortune or your yogi point is on the sound B, for example, then Bitcoin is great for you. Or on the sound, whatever the sound, Ja, then something with Ja will produce results for you. So my point in saying this is, for the listeners there, look at your own chart and definitely keep in mind predictions from Sulabhji, from people like me, other analysts, but look at your own chart and make your own decisions based on what's right for you. Like, for example, a few months ago, I mentioned in our private classes to some of our students who are investors, I said, guys, Boeing is going down. Boeing is not going to be a good company to invest in. Why? Because Saturn in the sky is in the sound bull right now. That's in the first part of Capricorn. And so as Saturn transits, it's going to produce downsizing. Just a couple of weeks ago, they fired, I think, 7,000 employees. So, so this stuff does matter. It does work. Now, so basically, my long-term prediction for Bitcoin is just hold on to it if you have it. Next year, I think will be between 60 to 70,000, with, I think, spikes up. The long-term trend beyond 2021, when Pluto in the sky touches Bitcoin's Jupiter, that'll be in 2024. I think that's when it'll be at its peak. Maybe, who knows, 300,000-400,000 or more. Wow. But 2020, I can't see that far. I mean, Jupiter conjunct Pluto is happening right now, and you can see what's happening to the prices. They're just going crazy.
Yeah.
Well, 2023, Pluto in the sky will conjunct Bitcoin's Jupiter. And so that'll be another big thing. In 2023 and 2024, it's a long transit. So overall, I mean, it's a very, very bullish. I'm very bullish on it. And Ethereum, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Forget about all the other little mini bitty coins. They'll have their runs up and down, but Bitcoin and Ethereum is the way to go, I think.
Yeah, they're the two I'm actually in myself as well. But it's very interesting what you were saying a moment ago about sounds with different elements of the zodiac. Is that based off the nakshatras, is it?
Yes, so every every Rashi has 9 Navamshas, and each Navamsha is associated with the sound. So like Aries, Chuche, Chola, Lilulelo, and then Taurus, Iue, O, Vavi, Vuvevo, and so on. So each of the aksharas in the Sanskrit alphabet are represented in the 108 Navamshas of the zodiac. And for example, that's how sometimes they would name children based on the sound that the child's moon is in. So if the moon is in the sound V, Then Victor or Victoria would be, you know, a good name. Vikas, if it's a, you know, a Sanskrit name or like that. Vijay. And we have other points. Is that here or where you are? That's here.
I think that's you.
Yeah, that's. I'm pretty close to the main street here, so it can be pretty loud.
Oh,
so
well, you know, they say whenever you hear a siren, when you're talking about something important, that's an indication to pay attention.
All right, everybody, pay attention. You hear that?
Chestagre, they call that.
What do they call it?
Chestagre, omen reading.
Okay. So the sound of where your moon is placed, the sound of your ascendant, the sound of any good positive planets, like let's say you have Jupiter in the 9th house, the sound of that Jupiter will invoke that 9th house strongly. Those are all good sounds for you. The sound of your yogi point, the sound of your yogi planet. Now, the yogi and the yogi point were introduced by an astrologer, a South Indian astrologer named Mr. Sheshadri Iyer in the 70s. And they're from a South Indian tradition. And the yogi has nothing to do with yoga. It's for making money. It's a money planet. So if you want to name your business something and your yogi is in your 10th house in the sound boo, then you use the sound boo, you know, for your business. So yeah, this is built into Vedic astrology. And one of the unique things about Vedic astrology when compared to tropical, no one system is better. It's just that they have their unique features. That a lot of the predictions that I made were based on these sounds. Like when K2 moved into the sound B for Bitcoin, that's when I knew Bitcoin would have a significant downturn. The moment K2 left, Bitcoin bounced back up again. So I'm not a genius. Right. I'm just looking at, oh, okay, I can. It's very simple, actually.
You're looking at the transits over sounds. Interesting. My technique is to use specific transits over the zodiac. So the September fall, I think I predicted that. But no, I'm sorry, the September rise I predicted. That was just Rahu going into Taurus. Taurus being the natural second house of like financial instruments and that type of thing. And I strongly associate cryptos with Rahu. So I just thought those two things combining could only lead it up one direction. And I'm actually very surprised. Oh, in hindsight, everything makes sense. Yeah. Look,
why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised how high this thing's run up at the moment too. So I'm also thinking there's going to be a correction. My thoughts, and tell me what you think of this, please, is that it should be around the 22nd of December. That's a time I think where Jupiter is exactly over the top of Saturn.
Yeah, and it's the solstice. And well, there are a number of dates. There are a number of key dates. Which one triggers it? Who knows? But I think, excuse me, there are two eclipses, November 30th and December 14th. In December, November 19th, actually, which is just coming up in a few days, is one trigger because this is when Saturn in the sky goes over the moon of the Dow Jones Industrials chart. Now, this isn't something I came up with. This is actually an astrologer named James Kelleher brought this to my attention. And so that's the time when the Dow Jones Index is going to have its Sadhisati. It'll be the middle of its Sadhisati. So November 19th and thereafter. Then the first week of December, there's some stuff. So look, I agree with you. Around December 21st, 22nd, also very sirens. There you go. God is yelling at us. Yes, yes. This is a time when there could be some severe drawbacks. So in anticipation for those, I sold some of my Bitcoin. I'm a dummy, so don't listen to me. But I still think there's going to be that drawback. Now, I sold a little too soon. But, and again, I'm not giving financial advice to anybody. I'm not, competent or anything. This is just entertainment. But we do think, most of us astrologers think, that there will be one bigger drawback come end of November and December. And then 2021 should begin the next bull run very high, all the way up to, I think, 60, 70,000.
Okay, cool. And where did that number come from, 60 to 70? Is that based off Jyotish calculations?
Yeah, so I asked, there's a way to ask the question in Jyotisha. You can ask, like, for example, when a client comes and says, which of these schools should I go to? Harvard, Oxford, the community college, or, you know, your air conditioning school? Which of these is best for me? And so you have to, there's a way using Krishnamurti Paddhati, which is a system of, from a guy named Mr. K.S. Krishnamurti, where you can identify which option has the most Shakti. And I simply did, I put, will Bitcoin be between 10 and 20,000? 20 and 30, 30 and 40, 40 and 50, all the way up to 100, and then over 100. 10 and 20 was completely rejected. 20, 30, completely rejected. 30, 40, rejected. So the first time it started, the needle started to go was between 40 and 50, but then the highest was 60 and 70. And then it kind of dropped off after that. So it shows me that it's going to likely spend a bit of time there in the 60 to 70,000 range.
Okay,
so
and that's
we'll see. I hope I'm right.
Sure, and that's by the end of 2021, you believe?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty shocking for me. I'm fairly conservative.
Can you hear that? I got sirens over here too now.
What's going on?
Anyway, sorry, please continue.
We live in a very busy places, but yeah, this is good, Nimitta. So look, that's my prediction, and I have to stick with it. You know, a lot of my fellow astrologers kind of poo-pooed me when I said Biden's going to win back in February, I think it was. But it looked like he was going to win. That's what the chart showed. Now, the more I pulled charts, they'd say, well, can you confirm that? And so, you know, every couple of months, you know, by July, August, September, I was pulling more charts to see, okay, let's see, am I right? The latest chart I pulled showed they're both going to win. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. So I just kind of put it aside. How are they both going to win? That's impossible. Well, and again, back to that first chart that I pulled for it, Neptune was exactly conjunct the descendant. I made a YouTube video on this. And one of the commentators very accurately said, and I mentioned Neptune, it means recounts, it means confusion, it means one person thinks they won, but they didn't, that kind of thing. And I think you talked about that as well, right?
Yep.
Tremendous amount of confusion. And so one of the commentators said, yeah, I think that there's going to be a recount, and states that normally come out for one person will come out for the other. And so they hit it dead on the, so we have some very smart viewers, by the way.
Yeah,
you know,
we do, and that's why we're connected to each other. Actually, they told me to get in touch with you.
All right, awesome. So look, I think the two eclipses are going to be very big for Trump, and so the people who predicted Trump are saying, look, when these eclipses hit exactly on Trump's sun and opposite Trump's moon, that's when the results will flip. And that's what a few people are saying. My opinion is still that the results will stand, and at that time, Trump will likely receive some really bad news. So the thing with Rahu Ketu is it's a pendulum. It's like, boom, either one extreme or the other extreme. And sometimes can be difficult to predict. But I think November 30th and December 14th are big dates for Trump, because they signal the eclipse cycle, a new moon and a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse happening exactly on his sun and moon, which you know, right? So he was born on an eclipse, and this eclipse will happen exactly on his natal eclipse. Right. So it could be devastating for him, both health-wise, psychologically, and so forth. Or, this is a minority opinion, but Some people are saying it, or it could flip the election for him, and he, ends up winning these lawsuits and remains president. So of course, in about a month or a couple months from now, people watching this will be like, yeah, we know all this stuff. Stop talking about it. We know what happened, right? But we don't. So it's interesting for us still.
Yep, that's right. Well, also the fact that Biden has his sun in Scorpio. So all these eclipses that you're talking about in Taurus, that should have the opposite effect for him.
Yeah. Biden has his sun there. So does Trump has his sun in Scorpio. So, we'll see. We'll see. My sense is, and this is I'm sticking to my prediction from the beginning. I'm not going to waver. Is that these eclipses will hit Trump really hard here, and he will have like an emotional, maybe even a physical breakdown. Because when K2 transited his moon, he got COVID, and we predicted that as well. We saw that he would get sick, around the election time or before the election. But I think he's going to have either another round of COVID or just a major kind of something's going to hit him, like a big disappointment, because these two eclipses confirming his natal eclipse are I think, going to be pretty harsh.
Oh, interesting. And
so we'll see. We just have a few weeks. We'll know.
Yeah. What's the mood like on the ground in America at the moment? Like here in Australia, we're just seeing all sorts of scary headlines and people protesting on the streets. What are you seeing over there?
It depends on what channel you watch. That's the crazy thing. People are so divided here. Like I'm in Hawaii. Hawaii is a blue state. Everyone is aloha, love. That's the progressive kind of left-wing thing, love and care for your neighbor and all that stuff. The hunker down kind of bring your gun to the polls. Because I'm from Arizona, so in Phoenix we had people with their rifles going up to the election and going, count the votes, and they're like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're counting the votes. So it depends on which channel you watch. Look. Do they have a legitimate beef? Maybe. That Neptune is confusing. So we'll see. We'll let the court settle it. One thing, I think the best question I've got this year was from Regina Meredith. She interviewed me for Gaia. She said, Simon, will the elections be fair? And I hadn't thought to look at that. And so I pulled the chart for her question at that moment. And I swear to you, Sulabh, the chart was beautifully pure and pristine. I looked at the 10th house and it said, whoever wins. Now that chart didn't tell me who would win. They will win righteously. It will be the just thing. And it appears now that it's Biden who won. And of course, everyone who leans to the right is going to just throw their sandwich at the screen listening to this. But I'm reporting to you what I said to her months ago, which is I think the election is going to be fair, and the right person, whoever the people voted for, will be the one who triumphs. So, whether you like this news or don't like it, I'm just a messenger. I'm just reporting what I saw in the chart. But that gives me a little bit of hope that the system is working. Now, behind the scenes, there are tons of lawsuits. There's a lot of anguish for people who felt cheated, who feel cheated. And whether it's warranted or not, we'll see. We'll know in a few weeks.
One of my predictions, and again, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is that there's going to be either a bond market crash or crisis, rather, or a US dollar crisis between now and the inauguration. And my logic for that is the sun going into Capricorn over the top of Saturn. Sun being government, bringing it down temporarily. What are your thoughts? Beautiful.
And now, this is just for the United States chart, but still, the United States is the dollar. The United States begins its Rahu-Saturn Dasha Bhukti. Rahu-Saturn is not a good period for finance for the U.S. It begins November 30th, I think. So I think you may be right on the dot with that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's see how that
Jupiter
goes.
is also moving into Capricorn. It's going to be debilitated. It's moving in a few days. So, yep. I
All
would
right.
agree with that.
Let's see how that pans out. Connecting that to the next topic then, what are your thoughts on gold and silver?
Gold and silver, honestly, Sulabh, this is where I'm going to take a pass. I think with the fall of the dollar, they're inversely correlated with the dollar. So naturally, if the dollar goes down, gold and silver will go up. My contention has always been that Bitcoin is the far better safe haven, I shouldn't say better, the more profitable safe haven in the near future. Whereas gold may go up 2x or even 3x. Let's say it goes up to $6,000, which would be huge for gold. Bitcoin does that on a Wednesday,
Sure.
Well, okay, I shouldn't say that, but 2-3x would be a big move for Bitcoin. But still not as big of a move as it would be for gold. So I think there's a lot more upside for Bitcoin. And if indeed it reaches 50, 60, 70,000, Bitcoin does, that would be a 3x basically from its current position. And it's not by accident that a lot of Wall Street, gajillions of dollars are moving into Bitcoin. So I haven't played around with gold. Yes, I think it has a good, bright future, bright, shiny future, no pun intended. But I think, I think Bitcoin may be the better option. Now, for people who want to invest in gold, Celsius Wallet, this is an app that I endorse and that I like, allows you to actually, it's the only place in the world you can earn interest on your gold. So you can buy real physical gold that's held in a Swiss bank that you can actually go and get. But by holding that token for that gold, you actually earn 3 or 4% interest on it versus, which is crazy, right? You've never heard of that before, right?
No, it's insane.
It's insane. Well, on that same app, I'm earning 10.5% on my dollars. So I'm just holding my US dollars there and I'm getting 10% interest. It's great. It's a great app. So the way it works is the app lends out. So they pay you interest for what they lend out. It's called Celsius app. You guys can check it out. If you've seen my YouTube, I don't work for them. I'm not affiliated with them, but I just, I love what they do. But yeah, usually when you hold gold, you have to pay fees. You have to pay certain, you're paying a percentage to hold it versus earnings. So this is a different thing. So I'm sorry, I don't have any very smart, timely predictions about gold. And like I said at the beginning, you probably shouldn't listen to me right now anyway, at least until the end of January. But yeah, overall, I think my site is on cryptos, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum.
All right, awesome. And what are your thoughts for the world going into 2021? Everyone knows this year's been chaotic for almost everybody. How's next year going to be?
Yeah. Well, again, the United States just entered its Rahu-Saturn period, or is about to enter it now. This is a very difficult period for economically. So I think the U.S., and the reason I bring up the U.S. is it tends to kind of lead the world economic sort of, what happens in the U.S. has repercussions. I think the U.S. is going to go into about a year slump. I think even housing prices will suffer. I think the economy is going to suffer, at least for the next about 6 months or so, because the effects of all of the lost wages, the coronavirus deaths, which are crazy. We're at 250,000 basically now, dead people. I mean, compare that to other events, the other massively, like 9/11, where I think 3,000-4,000 people died, which also reshaped the way we, view the world. They were massively influential in influencing the economy, and I think this event is going to take its toll, the COVID event, and we're going to begin to see that starting this winter, December. As you were saying, I think the fall in the dollar, the sun going into Capricorn, Saturn already there. All of this stuff is going to be depressing.
Okay.
It's going to be a hard winter, I think.
Right. And how long will this difficulty last for?
Well, I think COVID is, gosh, I mean, I'm going to call on James Kelleher again. He's usually pretty good with these predictions. I think COVID's going to be around probably till the end of the summer next year. And then it'll peter off. So, as long as it's around, its side effects will be there. I think the housing market, like I said, in the U.S. is going to go down for the first half of next year. The markets in general, I think, will be depressed. But overall, it's a Saturn period is a time for rebuilding. It's a time to get serious and to pay your debts. So I think there will be a lot of debts, a lot of defaults, and credit card and mortgage defaults, things like this, which if you're smart, you know how to capitalize on, if you're an investor and so forth. But unfortunately, most people are just going to be caught in it. And it's around the corner. So yeah, I think 2021 in some ways will be like the reckoning from 2020. 2020 is like the bomb, the explosion. In 2021, there's no more explosion, but it's the recovery,
Sure.
from that. You know what I mean? So even though there's not all this mass kind of surprising stuff happening, it's going to be difficult.
Okay. And do you think there'll be more stimulus out of the US to compensate for that?
Yes. When Jupiter moves into Capricorn, stimulus will be approved. Yeah.
Okay. So
and that is, let me see.
Soon.
Yeah, it's very soon. So the very cool thing is, we've been right about this. We saw this last time too. When Jupiter moved into Capricorn, that's when the stimulus checks got approved. So let's see when it moves next time. Let's just take a quick look here. I'm looking at my chart. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's in 2-3 days. So Jupiter is going to be there around November 19th. So after the 19th, the 20th, I think the stimulus checks. And then Pluto moves into sidereal Capricorn later than that. That will be a big, that's December 28th. So look, I think that's the end of the year, December 27th, 28th. Jupiter and Saturn will be in a planetary war. Pluto will move into Capricorn. And as you predicted, as you said, I think this will be a very difficult time for the markets.
All right, well, let's take a deep breath and hope we all get through it safely.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, there's always a silver lining. There's a silver lining with this, which is learning how to work from home and how to, get along with the people in your home. And reading those books that you never had a chance to read, and trying to be useful, in one, like what we're doing. We're working from home right now.
Yep. True. Yep. Actually, on the topic of books, I wanted to ask you about your book. You've got one called The 5 Dharma Types. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
Looks really interesting.
5 Dharma Types. To me, it's my biggest contribution. After I wrote that book, I said, okay, now I can die, and I will have done something in this world, because it didn't come from me. The idea just kind of appeared, and the research just all kind of happened on its own. But it happened over the course of 8 years, and it is a book on your genetic DNA, on how you are made, what your purpose is on this planet. And Krishna in the Gita and Christ also teach these things. They say, just love God, don't be attached to what you're doing, have God in mind. But it's very difficult to do that when you're not doing your dharma. See, when you're not doing your dharma, every little thing, somebody, clicking their nails on the desk, somebody saying something, it just sets you off, because you're in the wrong space and the wrong time. You're in the wrong energy. When you're doing your dharma, somebody clicking their nails, the boss yelling at you, it's still annoying, but it doesn't set you off because you're like, all right, that's just how he is. That's okay.
Sure.
Because you are where you love to be, where you're born to be. And no matter how difficult it is, it will still be difficult. You can detach from it and you can follow Krishna's advice, right? And be yogasta kuru karmani, sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Be fixed in yoga, leaving aside all attachments. And so knowing your dharma type will help you do your dharma. If you're an educator type, your dharma is to counsel and teach. I suspect we're both educators. Yep. If you're an outsider type, your dharma is to revolutionize, to bring new and fresh ideas, to introduce the world to new liberating ideas and philosophies. If you're a merchant, your dharma is to create prosperity, joy, and happiness for yourself and for people. Sure. If you're a laborer, your dharma is to support and to create the foundations of society. Laborers are the best cooks. They're the best craftspeople. They're the salt of the earth, right? They're the foundation of any society. And warriors, their dharma is to protect those who can't protect themselves. And in fact, I'm involved with a charity run by Dr. K.S. Chariot, who is the author of many, many astrology books, Essentials of Vedic Astrology, Varshafala. Are you familiar with Dr. Chariot?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't think I've read his work.
Yeah, he's an author. He's been writing books for 30 years on Vedic astrology. He's one of the modern, he's like B.V. Raman was. There are these great names in Vedic astrology, and that when they're still alive, you want to take advantage of them, of studying with them. So he has a charity called Medical Relief for India, and he's a warrior. So he hates asking for help, but he's doing things to help protect people, heal people who can't heal themselves. So I started a website called 5minuteastrology.com. Literally yesterday, just started it. And already people are flooding in. $27 goes directly to Dr. Chariot's charity. Okay? I don't touch it. I don't see it. It goes straight to them. And $27 gets you a 5-minute video personalized reading from me or one of the other astrologers on the site. And it's a win-win-win, right? The client, you get a little 5-minute, hey, how's it going? Here's your chart. Let's see what we can find. The charity gets a little bit, and the astrologer gets to do their part. So I'm tying this into Dharma because I want to help Dr. Chariot do his Dharma, which is to heal those who can't heal themselves. So that's my mission and my goal here moving forward. All these predictions about Bitcoin, when you're right, it feels really good. But when you're wrong, it gives you a little bit of perspective, like, okay, only God knows the whole picture. And it gives you some humility. So I'm putting more of my time these days into 5-minute astrology and these kinds of charitable organizations. I think they have the ability to help save a life. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a martial artist. I'm not so I may never be able to save a life in my lifetime. But if I can contribute to that, if I can help someone else save a life, boy, it's like I get some of that credit. So the next lifetime, I get reborn into a different family, right? No, I'm not trying to diss my family. It's, but you know what I mean. This is
absolutely sure. And so your book, 5 Dharma Types, helps you figure out what your Dharma is.
Oh, yes. There's a test in there. It seems very simple. Like, okay, there are only 5 Dharma types. So how can that be if there's 7 billion people on the planet? How can that help me? Well, think of the two kind of dharmas, being male and being female. Doesn't knowing that you're a male, for example, or that you identify as a male, help you know how to dress, how to talk, which bathroom to use? Imagine if you didn't know. And now this is a real thing for some people, but most people don't. I mean, most people do know. But imagine if you don't, if you woke up one morning and you didn't know if you were male or female, how much confusion could that create in your life? It's the same thing if you don't know your Dharma. You just don't know that you don't know. So you're confused. You're walking around going, oh, this looks interesting. Oh, maybe I should be like this guy. Oh, I don't know. Oh, should I do this? And this is why so many people get caught in, you know, even politically, but to bring it back to politics, extreme left-wing groups, extreme right-wing groups, because they don't know their Dharma. They're lost and they're looking for a meaning from a group or an ideology to give them meaning. The truly independent dharmic person doesn't need those groups to define them. They are independent. And, you know, they can say when this group is right, oh yeah, they have a good point. When this group is right, yeah, they have a good point. And it doesn't create a conflict because the person, you know who you are. So I think during this time when Jupiter and Saturn are both in Capricorn is a time when Dharma is at its lowest. It is, you know, and it'll take another 10, 15 years before that's over. So we're in the middle of it. And this is a time when people will wrongly identify with causes, and they'll put their whole heart and soul into a cause. And then 5, 10 years later, they're going to look back and go, what the hell was I thinking? And so hopefully knowing what your Dharma is, you're an educator, give good counsel, give wisdom to the world. That's it. Let everything else take care of itself. Oh, you're a warrior. Protect those who can't protect themselves. Let everything else take care of itself. That's it. That's the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita as well. Krishna is just trying to tell Arjuna, Arjuna is trying to be a Brahmin. He's saying, no, he's trying to be an educator. I'm going to go into the forest and study the sacred texts, you know. And Krishna's going, man, you've been practicing martial arts your whole life. You've been shooting arrows your whole life. Now all of a sudden you're going to start reading books. What you talking about? He says, you will be hated. You will be despised. Not because that's not a noble thing to do. It is noble for the educator. But you ain't no educator. You like slapping people around. So go slap some people. Do it for a good cause. If you're a warrior, anchor yourself to a good cause and fight for it. And that was Krishna's message to Arjuna.
Yep. It's such a profound message.
So again, knowing your Dharma, that's it. But it's a simple message, you know? But the simplest things are sometimes profound. God is love. Love is God.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, on that note, I want to thank you so much for giving all your time today.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for being here. And listen, you're very generous. Keep up with the great predictions. And I love that you're integrating palmistry with Jyotisha and making it palatable to the modern viewer. I think anyone who brings these ancient sciences into the forefront is divinely guided. So keep up the great work. And and I'll be watching as well.
Oh, thank you very much. But just before we go, how can our viewers get a hold of you if they want to? You're on YouTube and you have a website.
Yeah, go to 5minuteastrology.com if you want to get a free, not a free, but a little 5-minute reading for, for a little donation. That's a great place. I also, all my courses are stored in a place called decodingvedicwisdom.com. Courses on Prashna, on Parashara, everything in astrology, decodingvedicwisdom.com.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Simon. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Sulabh Ji. So great to have you. So great to meet with you. And what part of Australia are you in again?
I'm in Sydney.
In Sydney. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to come visit one of these days.
Yeah, sounds good. Actually, Hawaii's been on my bucket list for a long time too. So we should catch up.
You stay at my place. I'll go stay at your place. How's that?
That's a plan. Let's do it.
I love Sydney. I also love Perth. Perth, I found felt felt very isolated, but it felt very good. Like everything was quiet there. It was. Have you been to Perth in Western?
Oh, not since I was a kid. How long ago were you in Australia?
In 2016. 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually watched the election from Sydney. I was there, so I was there. Must have been there in November. That's how I remember.
Right.
Yeah, November 2016.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's really good chatting once again. And let's do this
All right.
again sometime, yeah? Maybe after
Thank you.
January
Namaste.
when your time gets better.
Yes, after January, I'm starting a really good period after that. So you should definitely pay attention to my predictions after January. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you once again, mate.
All right. Namaste. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.